want to take just a moment to welcome you from our team. My name is Colin Young. I am a senior consultant at Bridge Innovate. And Bridge Innovate, we are a global network of business strategists, consultants, and leaders who work alongside our clients and their team to really create some defining moments for their organization using methods such as design thinking, change management, and leadership development to really pull together and drive towards that future that they are looking for. I now want to introduce our guest that we have joining us today. Our guest today is Theresa Garcia. She leads Trust Leadership and Growth LLC and has spent a lot of time in a variety of fields, specifically digging into leadership, coaching, and innovation strategy. Her consultancy is based in Phoenix, and her clients really consist of global leaders and teams in aerospace, defense, healthcare, manufacturing, professional services, technology, public and charter schools, joint ventures, not-for-profit boards, and individual leaders. Quite the resume here. And so we're really excited to hear Theresa share some insight to help us develop to be better leaders going forward. So with that, I will pass the mic off to Theresa and let her jump into today's material.
Thank you, Colin, and thank you, everyone. Welcome to the future of work. Are you ready? The convergence of the global pandemic and the significant advancements in technology, combined with the increasing population longevity and all of the economic improvements that are occurring in developing countries, has created a perfect storm. That's what I call it. This perfect storm is changing the nature of industrialized work around the globe. And I strongly believe that this shift that we're all experiencing right now, this perfect storm, will be just as significant in our history as the Industrial Revolution. Some people are calling this time the knowledge revolution or the revolution of the workforce. I do believe that it was already in work for a few years. I'm going to give you some data today and some information from organizations that I work with regularly that study workforce trend analysis, who were identifying that this was coming. But this perfect convergence, this perfect storm of activities has really accelerated it. And what I personally find exciting and hopeful about this opportunity is that these elements that are converging together will more democratize the world as far as the opportunities for work and the opportunities for knowledge workers around the globe. So that's what's prompted me to really want to speak with you about this, is the opportunities that this disruption is causing. Let's proceed. So the first Zoom chat we want to ask about is, what skills do you believe will be the most essential in the future of work? Please use your chat function and let's just type some things in there. I'd love to see and to hear what you think are the most essential skills in the future of work. Relationship management, yeah. Adaptability, yes, definitely. Lean entrepreneurship tools, excellent. Cross-training. Maggie, say more about that, if you will, on the chat. Cross-training around what? What skills? Flexibility is absolutely a strong adaptability. Yep. So understanding different roles and how to support them on lean teams. Yes, definitely. I'm sure everyone's been experiencing that. If you've been on as many LinkedIn or Zoom chats or other media platform that we're working on, you have to be able to communicate and connect. And you will see that that is exactly one of those skills that it was identified will be those that rise to the top, are the people who can connect with others and can communicate effectively with others using this kind of platform. Thank you. The lean teams, yes. Yeah, so you like using lean teams? We'll test those out. We had a little difficulty this morning even on Zoom, so we might investigate that one for the future, right? A-team? Okay, excellent. You guys you're right on the money. So let's move on. I want to tell you some more about what we've learned and what I've learned over the years here in studying and focusing on the innovation of work. All right, some of you may have heard of Clayton Christensen from Innosci, who recently passed. but he was so phenomenal about creating disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovation is when you have situations like the perfect storm we're experiencing, it unlocks the opportunity for people from everywhere to actually innovate. You may have also heard that, that necessity is the mother of invention. We're seeing that as well today, where we have strong needs that are not being met. We have strong demands and shifts already in the workplace, as well as in society, in our communities, that are not well equipped or not being met. So people are coming up with innovative ideas. Look for a very example at this time about the masks. You know how the facial masks, we were such in such short supply. And now what we're seeing is the flood of entrepreneurship. We've got a number of people in different organizations creating masks that now have personality, right? Or they now are emblazoned with a model of a group that you belong to. So I love the spark and the innovation that this is forcing and that's causing. And this disruptive change that we talk about will affect us at all these different levels. At our personal level, our career opportunities, business opportunities, and industries. When I am coaching a leader and an individual on what they can do to improve their career, I always ask them to open their mind, to open their thinking. What is the need that's not being met? What is the emergent opportunity that's coming forward? Don't lock yourself into what has been in the past. Think of this as an opportunity to create. Okay, let's move on. So I'm going to cite some information from the IRI. It's the Innovative Research Institute. I put the website there. You can access this yourself. They did a study, a 2038 futures study, and I spoke about that a couple of years ago to identify what they believe to be the future of work. And I say they, how they brought this in, and I'll show you, they brought it in using what they call a MOOC, M-O-O-C. That is a multiple, right, online organization, online opportunity of courseware, where they invited people from all over this planet to engage in dialogue about the future of work and to play out scenarios, what the different scenarios would be, and then play those forward and identify, as a result of those scenarios, what would be the top 5 areas of focus. Now, this was done in particular for research and technology skills to see what those kind of skills would be, the innovation skills. And these are the top 5 they came up with. How we create, so things, whole industries, opportunities, jobs, and skills related to creation. How we create products, invent them, build them, and serve. How we consume and destroy what we create. How we connect with people, places, and things, much like we're doing here today, right? How we relate to one another, to individuals and to organizations, and one of you already identified that whole relationship management, and how we determine to define the world around us, meaning who we belong, where we belong, and what that connection is. I think it's really exciting. All right, let's move on. So these were the 4, they took 4 scenarios, and the top scenario, the top result, the things that's underlined here, is the top meaning that they see will be occurring. And then the bullet points beneath that are the elements of that, or how the manifestations of those. So let's take an example. The belief is that Africa will leapfrog other developed countries. So the reason why is they have a minimum asset base, meaning that there's nowhere up to go but up, okay? They have way more available natural resources. And those of you who are following markets and following investments, you'll see a huge investments occurring in Africa relative to culture, to agriculture, and to water as well. They have a lot of focused on flexibility in manufacturing because they're developing, they have greenfield operations. So you'll also notice a number of global conglomerates going in, moving into Africa to do more work and to build more factories and equipment there. And those of you who are interested, just type this into your Google search and you will see that they have a whole focus on the future state on how to bring Africa forward into the economy, leveraging things like technology. So I think it's very exciting. Moving over to the right, the death of distance versus mega cities. So the idea here is when they play the scenario forward, what they developed was that cities become the new state, if you will, where we all will start to gravitate toward a city that we prefer and the surrounding communities around that, as opposed to being tied to a particular state. And technology will enable us to work from whatever city area that we prefer, and that each of those urban settings will have its own unique area, its own unique culture. For example, the top areas they believe will be the San Francisco Bay Area, in the United States, the Research Triangle area in North Carolina. They see China, they see Africa as emerging significantly. So what I found so fascinating about this is there already are activities happening that are underway to make these kinds of cities a reality. What we also believe they'll see is that we will start to see that organizations and our professions, our individual lives and careers won't be tied so much to an organization, but rather be tied to the locale that we want to work. And so the advent of tech and some of these other exciting things like avatars will enable us to live where we want to live and work from our home or from our own environment and still be connected to the globe. They also believe there'll be a significant rise in scientists and creatives as far as global teachers. So meaning those scientists will now, through advent of tech, stronger technologies, and that will be able to teach their skill sets and engage with others around the globe and not being constrained by brick and mortar environments, not being constrained by their employment with a particular organization. So people then using these things like we're using today would be able to gain their expertise, and scientists will see the need for them rise significantly. They also believe that the creatives, those people who can communicate, who can create content, who can connect the masses using tech like this, will also see their stock rise significantly. And as you see here on this, in the death of distance, you have the technology makes distance irrelevant. As we've already experienced, all of us during this pandemic, these 9 weeks or so tied at home, those who have technology and that capability can connect with anyone around the globe, just like we're doing today. So although this was already happening, what's exciting to me from a cultural standpoint is that although we already have these capabilities in our mindsets, many, not all, but many employers believe that you had to be physically present, and we're not fully leveraging tech. But now that we've all been forced to, now we see the benefits of leveraging tech, as long as you have an environment to do it quietly. I know there's a number of people who have the little ones running around and competing, spouses and partners competing for that broadband. But I believe strongly that this new need, this emergent activities that are occurring, we'll start to see the advent of new tech, new tools, new opportunities, new environments for people to work more effectively. When we look at 3 roads to innovation, you'll see that this virtual work will drive motivation, right? Because people like being able to work from home and still be able to connect with others. I've been listening a lot here very recently to a number of evolutions as organizations are coming back to work, and they're looking at as a baseline, a minimum, half the week at home, half the week virtually, if the workforce and the work that they're doing supports that. Right? You're going to see also on the other evolving elements of this rise in the insular communities that work in secrecy. So meaning that now you'll start to see more and more, and I'm going to show you more people or societies or groups who sort of cluster together, right? Who are informed to cluster together. And then we strongly will see the significance of women, the advent of women and the era of women impacting organization and work. So here are some examples, right? We're already seeing, if you look at the Brookings Institute, the 2020 Foresight Africa, it's capturing they're calling it the 4th industrial revolution. We already see here, I'm in Arizona, and already we've seen Bill Gates and a team of his holding companies have purchased thousands of acres in the Arizona desert to begin to build an example of a complete smart city where everyone is connected, where they work, where they live, all this connection. It's pretty exciting stuff. It's particularly for the state of Arizona. You'll see this rise of women in the workforce and the impact of women in the workforce stronger shifting the nature of work, meaning not so tied, that is not so tied to a position authority, but rather to those characteristics that were historically feminine based, meaning communication, connection, collaboration, networking, those things that are now strongly enabled by tech. The other thing that's exciting on the bottom right is belief that everything will become beta, meaning it'll have a single use or a short use, a short cycle use. We'll all start to see more 3D printing capabilities happening at our fingertips, just like the advent of the television set, that all of us will have that, which has its own ramifications as well. Let's move on. So these are the summary of the future trends: simulation robotics, the rise of AI, right, of artificial intelligence, a global war for talent continuing, so exciting opportunities for talent, for those who can adapt their skill sets and be strong knowledge workers, be able to leverage this kind of technology. Open innovation, MOOCs, as I talked about, the rise of augmented humans. So of course we already have augmentation with prosthetics and things like that, but the idea here is that we'll be able to generate and add capability, right? Design in more capability with human beings. But if you play that forward, there's a lot that say, what will that do for our industrialized workplace, where we have different unions, as an example, for augmented versus unaugmented people. It's like kind of interesting stuff, right? The end of the patent was one of those elements that could play itself out as a result of 3D printing, where if everything has a short cycle time or a short use cycle, then what is the value of a patent? Because the cycle time will have shortened so significantly. Cognitive computing is about literally connecting our brains to a larger computer source. And from that, we would have greater, like a cloud of connection. May sound futuristic, may sound science fiction, but folks are already working this stuff. All right, let's go. Go ahead, let's move forward. So, quick cat check here. Which of these trends surprises you the most? Please use your chat function. Let's take a look.
We have a question here about summarizing your view of the opportunities coming from disruptions.
So summarizing the view, here are the top 10 that are believed to be forthcoming. I'm also going to show you right after this some data that we just got already this month from the conference board, another great place to go for just research on trends on the workforce, where they're indicating already specifically that work that can be done from remotely, right? That's like worked on based on computer systems or technology, communication. Those right now are rising fastest. But these we already see happening. The Hollywood model of employment, folks, what that's about is it's basically the gig economy, where you have companies have project work. You find people just like they would staff a Hollywood movie, and you would populate the job, do the project work, and then dissipate. So we'll start to see where we'll be more aligned by our skill sets, our profession, where people can find us, use our skill sets and bring us together. You know, think thumbs up, thumbs down, that kind of thing. Okay, let's keep going. So here are the 5 on the left, and you can see to the right that things are already being, right now, just as a result of the pandemic, right? And some things that were already in work anyway. Examples of people innovating. So we've already got some 3D printing that are creating new masks, right? Because we didn't have them. Or farm to table consumption, where you go online, you order the food, it comes to you already boxed up and fresh. Now you add that to the possibility of having that boxed fresh food delivered to you by drone, right? We already have seen the disruption in the taxi business with Lyft and Uber and so many others. And there's all of that connection that's happening right now. So these things that sounded so sci-fi in the past, you know, and so those of us who are old enough, as an example, think about the cartoon, The Jetsons, where, oh my gosh, we're talking to people on their phone and we can see their face. That was so future, and yet we're doing it every day. So just think about what's already coming, what's already the possibility, and start to believe or consider what are your own personal skill sets that can be used in these new ways. Okay, keep moving. So here's some more Information relative to telework. Telework, as I said, is rising significantly for obvious reasons. But to the left here, you'll start to see some of the things that the conference board has already identified as work that will remain virtual or remain remote. You know, computer work, business and financial operations, basically anything that you can do from like think about the healthcare industry, how that's going to be disrupted, because now people are opening their minds a little bit more, right? And thinking about how can we share our products and services remotely? What else can we be doing to support that? As a result of that as well, now that people are no longer having commuting or having to go to work, drive to work, commuting to work, how else can those people that were serving the commuters get their food and their services to those people? I just heard about yesterday where the food trucks here in the Phoenix metropolitan area are now delivering out to the suburbs, right? They're creating more and more food truck opportunities in the suburbs so that people working from home can get food from the food trucks. I think it's exciting. So what I have done here for the note is that on experienced subject matter experts, the belief is that those who can really do well remotely are people who know their skill sets, right? Or are strong in their skill sets and know how to communicate. If you really want to build new culture, get people to understand your culture better, it's a lot of extra work, more work to do that in the first few months when you do it remotely. That's the note down there. We can speak more about that. Okay, let's move forward. So who will be the winners, right? Are those who know their strengths. So you have to know yourself, know what skills and capabilities you really have, and understand that, and then adapt for the environment. How do I apply those things? Remove limiting beliefs and apply them into what's coming forward. All right, let's go. It's always about adapt and reinvent. Next slide. So in knowing your strengths, I always recommend to my clients to utilize a validated assessment instrument on personality and strengths. There are a number out there in the market. This one happens to be the Berkman method, which I like using with clients because it helps you to understand your own strengths and your own triggers, and it's a reasonably priced. So as an example on the left here, some of the strengths and behaviors of what Berkman would identify as red would be being active, decisive, and practical. Those that are green, highly flexible, like we talked about in the chat, good communicators. We're seeing a strong rise in the need because of telecommuting, right, and telework with people that are innovators, blue sky thinkers like the blue usual, and those who can communicate, people that have strong extroversion strengths with connecting with others. We also have the strengths of the yellow, which is being consistent and focused and predictable, and doing data analysis and understanding and research. So super high level overview. We can talk about more about strengths and styles in another webinar. Let's move to the next. So these are some examples, right? On the left-hand side about what people having these different strengths typically ask. And on the right side, some of the behaviors, the strength and behaviors of the different colors. Do you see yourselves in there? Can you see yourself in that? Anywhere in there? The red, the green, the blue, or the yellow? So using your chat function, which diamond do you feel best represents your strengths?
Let's see, red and green. See a blue, a bright red.
Good. So the interesting thing about the red is usually very fast, very decisive, very practical, right? Greens finally get your opportunity to be more flexible, enthusiastic, and communicating. Any yellows or blues in our community today?
We've got a few yellows coming in, some green and yellow.
Okay.
And a red and yellow as well.
Awesome. Fun. So in all significance, really get to know your own strength and skills, use a validated instrument. And just so you can think about that, about what you can offer, what your offer is to what the market's asking for. Let's go to our next slide, please. Again, start to look at use materials to understand where your skills may be adaptive, right? Where you might have application in an arena that you haven't used before. And oftentimes people have been myopic in their focus about the industry that they've applied their skill base. Now the time is to look at your actual skills and think about all the possibilities of where they might apply. So again, I always recommend, using some type of a validated instrument, something to help you. Also for free, the US government has a myriad, has a website that has a myriad of all of the different opportunities that are currently out there, not job availability so much as a workforce, what's out there in the workforce right now, the trend analysis they've done. So that's current and past. And again, I encourage you to think about emergent. What is the need that hasn't been met? What are the new opportunities showing up? Next slide. The next few slides are very quick for you. This is just an example of thinking about where you might be able to apply your skill sets in the variation of where organizations are in their business cycle, because all of it is leadership, all of it is needed. In particular, on the upswing there, the starter and the builder phase, and also because of what's been happening with the pandemic, we have a lot of organizations that are in the middle of transformation. So the two ends of the spectrum have huge opportunities for future work. Transforming jobs, transforming environments, creating new platforms and new opportunities, as well as startup. You're going to see a lot of that. So both ends, huge opportunities for people coming forward. All right, moving forward. Next slide. So to get prepared, take care of yourself. First of all, remember it's time to adapt your strengths. Think different, think bigger, explore opportunities. Next. Really get curious, reinvent. Think about reinventing and growing, right? New possibilities, places where you haven't been. These are some questions that I always ask my clients to consider so they can think differently and release their mindset. Next. Don't be daunted by fear or criticism. Next. Practice good self-care, have some fun, reflect, take care of yourself, get enough sleep, put in some good routines. We'll go two more. Colin, we'll skip the text because I don't think we're gonna have time. Lean on your friends and family, your religious groups, your professional affiliations for support, because we're all going through this together. Next. Get a coach. I recommend for career change and for thinking new opportunities. And our next. I want to say thank you to all for your attention. I think it's a great and exciting time for all of us. Thank you, Colin.
Yes, thank you, Theresa. As we wrap up today, I know we're just a little bit over time. I did want to let you all know that we do have a few more webinars that are happening in the coming weeks here. We're going to be hearing from Morehouse College's Innovation Entrepreneurship Center, talking about leading the way and looking forward as we think about it. Even some of the things that Theresa has just shared with us today. And then we'll also have a webinar where we'll learn about design thinking sprints, how we can engage customers and drive innovation remotely, another thing that we're seeing a lot. And as well, the wisdom of women who want to speak up, create, and lead. And Theresa will be joining us again to be able to share on that webinar as well. So we invite you to take a look at those on our website. And thank you again for everyone who has joined today. We hope you have a great rest of your day.
Colin, could I just put a plug in for the one on the 24th? I happen to know Tiffany Buzzy from Morehouse, and she will be a do not miss.
Yes.
Excellent educator.
Definitely. Thank you for that. All right. Well, thank you all. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And yes, thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining. Bye, all.